Good morning and welcome to the Bobby Moore Stand. My name is Chris and it is Wednesday, the 8th of July, which I can't believe I'm saying because time is absolutely flying by. It really is. It's been way over a month since the end of last season, just over a month until the start of the new season. There's plenty going on. There really is. But before I start, I wanted to do more solo shows and I've got to apologise for this. I did promise Gary I was going to do more solo shows, but being honest with you, I've been so busy with work. I haven't really had the opportunity nor the time to do it. However, thankfully, work is slowing down a little bit, which has enabled me to do this video today. But also, I will be doing more of these throughout the transfer window with Gary. I even got my haircut. This morning, just especially for the video. Not that my wife noticed, which was a little bit disappointing. I walked through my front door this morning and she didn't even realise. Neither did my kids. Apparently, I look exactly the same, which maybe I do. Bit disappointing. But anyway, I made the effort. I did make the effort. But yeah, look, there's plenty to discuss. You know, there's a number of headlines going around at the moment. Fresh off the press, Niclas Fullkrug, could he be a really important player for us going into the new season? Now, I know what I think. I know what I think of him as a player, particularly in terms of how he performed in, albeit the few amount of games that he did play for us last season. But I'll be very interested to gauge your opinions on him as well. I'm also going to talk about Tyler Dibling, a player that we were linked with earlier on in the transfer window. And remarkably, a player that we're suddenly being linked with again. It suddenly re-emerged from nowhere in the course of the last 24 hours. I don't know how realistic that one's going to be, but nevertheless, I'm going to talk about Tyler Dibling as well. Also going to talk about some of the ongoing bids that we've got on the cards right now, but also some of the pending bids that we're looking to make on other players as well. So yeah, lots going on at West Ham. I'm going to say positive because I'm tired of negativity. I'm absolutely responsible for that and culpable of being a little bit negative last season. We all had reasons to be, I think, right? I mean, in terms of the management, in terms of the ownership, of course, in terms of how we played both individually and collectively as a team last season, it just wasn't good enough. But the truth is, I'm trying to get my head around the benefits of why I should feel negative about something that I love. And I don't want to feel that way. I do not want to feel that way anymore. I understand why people are negative about West Ham. Of course I do. But does it help the team? And the team is the most important thing here. It's not the ownership. The ownership are absolutely terrible. And I want to make it really, really clear. I want them gone. Of course I do. I want Sullivan gone. I want Brady gone. I want them all gone. But until that happens, as a West Ham fan, I feel it my duty to make sure that I give it my all as a supporter and really cheer on whoever puts on the claret and blue on that pitch next season. We need to give it everything we've got to enable them to give it everything they've got as well. Irrespective of who we sign, if we do sign, if we don't sign, we just need to get back behind the club again because I've seen worse times. I've been supporting West Ham for 45 years. Haven't really seen a great deal of success barring the Conference League. So did I support West Ham for success? Well, no, I didn't. I supported West Ham because it's in my blood. It comes through my family, through generations. I support West Ham because not just because of the team, but because of the people, because of the supporters. Those are the things that are really important to me. We've got such a unique fan base. I really, really hope that going into this season, we can try and have some semblance of positivity, irrespective of what the team is going to look like, but just go into it positive and bring back some of that banter, some of that morale in and amongst the stands rather than the negativity that we saw so much of last season. So that's where I stand on this. So it is absolutely positive July for me, like it is for Gary, but I'm going to try and be as positive as I possibly can be moving forwards. How long that's going to last, I can't guarantee, but I'm going to try. I will try. Hey, look, before I continue, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. If you do like what we do, it really is much appreciated. It doesn't take a great deal. It's free. And if you can like the video as well, that would be much appreciated as well. Apparently, I've heard a rumor that if you like this video, it may mean it's one step closer to David Sullivan and Cara Brady leaving the club. Apparently, it's a rumor. Try it. You never know. It might work. But anyway, on with the show. Niclas Fullkrug. Now, as I've mentioned, could he be a really important player for West Ham next season? Well, West Ham are looking to sign another striker. Okay, that's publicly out there. Who it's going to be, I don't know yet. None of us really know yet. There's obviously links, there's rumours, but until it happens, we're not sure. But from Füllkrug's perspective, he wants to be a mainstay in the West Ham team. He wants to stay at West Ham. Now, interestingly, a quote from Tim Steidten, our former technical director, who quoted this week, we ended up paying 22 million euros with Dortmund, which is around about 19 million quid, something around that mark. And I would do the same transfer again anytime. Steidten argues Dortmund said he was too expensive. For me, he was still too cheap. That's an interesting quote. Dortmund said he was too expensive. Well, you'd think if he said he was too expensive, they might make him a bit cheaper. But anyway, maybe it's a typo. I don't know, maybe it was misquoted. But regardless, Steidten rates Füllkrug. Okay, we all know that Steidten can pick a player. I think he made more successful signings rather than unsuccessful signings because some of those players still have yet to prove themselves. The likes of Luis Guilherme, still got time to prove it. Anyway, he also went on to say Niclas wasn't just the type of player that I was looking for on the pitch, but also someone who could lead the team off of it. I would have paid even more money if it had been my own money. So we're talking about an individual that no longer is associated with West Ham, not employed by West Ham, doesn't work with Füllkrug, but he's waxing lyrical about Füllkrug still in the press. This was this week. Tells you what he thinks of him, but also in terms of what I think about Niclas Fullkrug, well, look, he was injured for most of last season, but when he did play, he looked decent. He was still coming back from injury, so you have to give him the benefit of doubt in certain games where he wasn't fully up to speed because he wasn't fully fit. But here's a good thing. Apparently, additional quote from Tim Steidten, Niclas is fit, as in fitness-wise. I wrote to him a few days ago. Physically, he's in top shape, Steidten adds. I'm sure he will perform 100% in the Premier League. So, what does that tell you? Well, hopefully what that does mean is that he's got a full pre-season now with West Ham. On top of the fact that he's looking fit and sharp at the moment, apparently, according to Steidten, he's got another month and a half to get himself in prime shape before the start of the season. So why can't he be an important player for us? He's essentially a striker in terms of his attributes, aside from his pace, of course, that fits very well into the mould of what we do at West Ham. We need a strong physical striker up there that can hold the ball up and bring others into play, whether that's like some Bowen, Somerville. I'm not going to say Kudus because we all kind of know where that one's going. But he is that type of player. He is that type of striker. He's as strong as an ox, and that's exactly what we need up front. I would be very, very happy for Niclas Fullkrug to stay at West Ham next season. And I really, really do hope that he can justify the reasons why we signed him and he can start that season fully fit. I'm not saying that we shouldn't sign another striker, by the way, and I'm not saying he should be our first choice striker, but I do feel that he could definitely add something to West Ham next season. And I think he wants to stay because if you go back to what he said back in springtime, he actually said, quote unquote, I didn't join a club at 32 to use it as a springboard. I've never had any intention of leaving West Ham. That's not even on my mind right now because I'm really enjoying this job at the moment. I find a challenge like this appealing, moving to a club that isn't yet where it wants to be. So he knows that West Ham had a disastrous season last season. He said this in springtime, March, April time, we were having a bad season. But he wants to stay. He wants to fight. And I think, hopefully, we can retain him. I think we need him. I think we need him going into the season. But I'd be really intrigued to gain your thoughts on this. Genuinely, I would. But moving on, Tyler Dibling. I mentioned Tyler Dibling earlier on. Tyler Dibling, Southampton's young right winger. Spent a lot of time on the bench last season, but also spent a lot of time coming off that bench and creating a bit of an impact by all accounts. Now, apparently, Tyler Dibling's a player that Graham Potter and Kyle McCauley are completely aligned with. They both feel that he would be a really good asset, a good quality player to bring to West Ham. Interestingly, Tim Steidten again, our former technical director, he also had something to say about the player this week. He said, he's an outstanding player. with that street football mentality, that special dynamic. He's a player who can suddenly stop, turn on the afterburners, and accelerate again. His first touch is outstanding. He has brutal potential, but I think he'll end up being too expensive for a German club, which is interesting because this week there have been some links with the player and Bayern Munich. Now, Bayern Munich notoriously don't tend to pay a huge amount of money on players, apart from the likes of Kane. Typically, they average around about 40 million-ish on some of their main players in their team, some of their star players in their team. Now, apparently Southampton wants 60 million. Now, if that's the case, I've got to tell you, I think that's massively inflated. Can't believe that they want 60 million quid for him. Must show what they really think of him. Must be, a real prospect. I've seen him play firsthand. I think he is. I don't think he's worth 60 million quid. That's a lot of money. Maybe those prices are inflated in the press. I don't know. But would I be interested in? Yeah, I would be. But I'll ask the question, why would we be interested in signing a player like Tyler Dibling, a right winger, when we've got Jared Bowen, who really would be our number one right winger, you would think. He is an out-and-out right winger, Tyler Dibling. So to spend that much money on a player like him doesn't seem to make a great deal of sense to me. But I guess we'll see. 60 million quid ain't going to happen. If it's 60 million quid, you can rule it out automatically. But nevertheless, a player that I would be interested in. Maybe there could be a deal to be done. Maybe it could be a loan and then maybe an obligation to buy. Maybe we could. Maybe Southampton still owe us money for Flynn Downs. Maybe we could throw that into the mix. I don't know. Who knows? But other than that, in terms of bids that are ongoing, we've still got the likes of Zion Suzuki. Now, player that we've all mentioned on a few shows quite recently. This is not, hidden news. It's quite publicly known that we are after a goalkeeper. I think first it was Hermansen over at Leicester. Now it's Zion Suzuki. Now, out of the two, who would I prefer? It's funny. I think initially I would have said the Leicester goalkeeper because he has Premier League experience. But Suzuki, as has been mentioned multiple times, has been basically publicly put out there as one of the top young goalkeepers in the world. Now, I actually do know a bit about him, amazingly, because he's a Japanese goalkeeper and I follow Japanese football due to my own heritage. Seen a couple of games and he does look like a very good goalkeeper. When he was playing in Serie A last season, he was a standout player. He's a great shot stopper, very, very good in the air, which you would expect a goalkeeper to be. He's at a very good height. He's great on crosses. The only question mark that you'd have around him is potentially his distribution, but maybe that's because his previous team or his current team didn't play that particular style of football. I don't know, but I'd be really interested in him. Apparently, we are pushing to get that one over the line. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that can get done because I think that would be a definite upgrade on Areola, who had a bit of a disaster last season. So that's Zion Suzuki. In addition to him, we've also got ongoing interest and potentially a firm bid going in for El Hadj Malik Diouf. Now, I'll give myself a bit of credit here. I called this player out about 3 weeks ago now. I did hear some gossip about him. I did actually mention it on one of our lives that we did. Really, really good player. Obviously, left wing back, absolutely abundance of pace, got a decent cross on him. He's got all the attributes in theory to actually thrive in the Premier League. In theory. I really do like the look of him. And for me, I think he's a player that we have to go for, particularly if we look like we're going to get rid of Emerson as an example. And I don't think we can necessarily rely on Ollie Scholes. So I really hope that we can get that one done. Interesting fact. The last time that we signed a left back or a left wing back from a team in Prague, it was actually Sparta Prague, was Vladimir Laban. I don't know if you remember him. He wasn't very good. He was pretty crap, wasn't he? I think it was around about 2002 time. He wasn't good. So hopefully it's not going to be anything like him. I think it will be. This guy looks a lot better. What else? Well, pre-season, as we all know, it started on Monday. the whole squad have returned back to pre-season, apart from Edson Alvarez, because obviously he's been doing his international stuff, winning trophies, apparently winning player of the tournament as well. What does that mean for West Ham? Well, I don't know. Does it mean that we can get more money for him, potentially? Does it mean he wants to stay at West Ham? I don't think he does. I think he wants out. So maybe that'll benefit us if we can get a bit more money for him. So Edson Alvarez was the only player that hasn't come back, but we have seen the likes of George Earthy, Alford, Daniel Cummings, also Freddie Potts, by the way, who I think is going to be a really important player for us going into the new signing. There's also another youngster that kind of went under the radar, a young Irish lad. I'm going to mention his name, but he's going to fall into the under-18s team, apparently. He kind of went under the radar because the noise was more around kind of Cummings signing for West Ham. But he's one for the future anyway, but apparently a quick, dynamic, wide player from Ireland. Can't remember his name. It's bad planning. It's been a while. So there you go. So I guess kind of in summary, the youth looks like it could be done. That's the one that's looking likely to be done. Providing we can actually agree terms, the player wants to join West Ham. He's training on his own, not training with the squad right now over in Prague, which is a good sign. Suzuki, obviously that one is progressing, which is obviously good as well. Tyler Dibling, don't know about that one. In terms of outs, well, Mohamed Kudus, that one seems to be going on. Apparently Tottenham are going to come back in with another bid. That'll remain to be seen what that bid's going to look like. But we all know what Daniel Levy's like. He's always going to try and lowball and play silly buggers with West Ham. But do I want him gone? Honestly, yeah, I think I've got to that point now. I do think he's a great player. But the only reason I want him gone is because he doesn't want to be here. He clearly doesn't want to be here. If he did, then why not publicly put it out there that he wants to stay? I guess the same could be said for Edson Alvarez as well. He doesn't want to be here. And I don't think, I'm pretty certain that Naif Aguerd doesn't want to be back either. Why would we want to retain players that do not want to play for West Ham? No, I want players that want to stay and play for West Ham and play with pride, be proud to wear that badge. So, let me know what you think. It's good to be back and, see you soon. Come on, you Irons.